In the spring of 2021, Jinkx Monsoon and Nick Sahoyah recorded a Futurama recap podcast. For reasons unknown, it was never released. These are the raw tapes.
I'm 40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. You know I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. I'm only 40%. Go. 40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast.
Okay, this is my Patreon podcast voice. Is that good?
No.
You don't like it?
Do an intro now.
I will.
I have to edit around this.
Hi, I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and I'm here with stand-up comedian.
I don't do stand-up anymore. But do like comedian, writer for the stars. Make it sound good, you know? Just do good.
Hi, I'm internationally tolerated.
And try and get the
Shanti.
name of the podcast in there, you know? Like soon.
Yeah.
Because you're so slow.
Hi, I'm internationally. Hi, I'm internationally tolerated. I can't say the word internationally.
Well, then cut it, you know? Think on your feet. It's the big time, baby. That's the same vibe.
Let me try it, please.
I'm saying you should have done it by now. I'm just giving you notes.
But then you keep interrupting me.
I'm just saying you should be doing better.
Yeah, I should be. Thanks for the update. Hi, I'm internationally tolerated drag shantas Jinkx Monsoon, and I'm here with the comedy writer Nick Sahoyah, who happens to be just one of my best friends or whatever. And why are you making that face?
It doesn't matter. They can't see my face. It's a podcast.
I know. I just feel like you're testing me, and we've barely begun.
I just think we should have the intro done by now. So this is
you're
the one.
Listening, and this is that was the intro. I can't think of a better way to introduce you to our podcast listeners. This is I'm 40% podcast.
It's a Bender joke.
So, Nick, how many times would you say you've watched Futurama from start to finish, episode 1 to the end?
Well, sometimes I do it on shuffle. It's a little bit like Britney Spears that way.
How do you shuffle? How do you shuffle that? You just
click
flip
around.
around.
Yeah, I like this one. I'll let it run for a while. Well, I'm just saying, I don't think it's a show that I've ever watched all the way through in order.
Ever?
Because, well, we're doing it now.
Ugh.
Because I've seen every episode like 10 times. It's just I've never watched them in an order on purpose.
That's crazy to me. I mean, like, I saw episodes randomly when it was on TV, but now we have the ability to watch something in chronological order. Although I have watched shows in reverse before for no good reason. Just to watch it get worse over time.
To watch it get worse, what shows do you think get
actually,
better
it's like you watch it ebb and flow in the opposite direction.
Okay, interesting. I will say, like, I haven't watched season 1 in a long time, and it definitely has a different vibe. It's like chill.
Oh, that's just okay. So I think there's a lot to talk about with animation in general, especially animation that began before the technology, like, advancements in animation, because you can tell, like, every cartoon show has this moment where it just everything looks good all of a sudden. And it's like when they had to do it on the cheap at first, and then they got a budget on season 2 and could afford the computer animatronic whatevers.
Well, they've got a lot of deep layers. There's like 57 layers in the intro Do you know that factoid about Futurama? There's so many layers of animation. It's like 50 or something.
I didn't know that. But I do know that like there's there's just something about when did Futurama begin?
99, because the premise of it happening right before. I remember watching it in 1999, right before the year 2000.
Well, then that's a little on the nose, don't you think?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's like, what a dream. It's like having a Friday the 13th movie coming out on Friday the 13th. But you couldn't do a Halloween movie on Halloween because then everyone would only see it that one day and then they would be done. Just something I'm thinking about.
See.
You seen any of the Halloween movies?
No, not a one. But I've seen every episode of Futurama.
You should watch the first one and Halloween H2O and the most recent Halloween.
I remember you giving me a lecture on what order to watch the Halloween movies in, and I could not care less. I don't know why you're trying to make me care about.
Michael Myers going to get you. He's going to sneak up behind you right now.
I'm never going to care about the Halloween movies.
Okay, well, let's talk about Futurama.
Or Indiana Jones. But I do care deeply about Futurama. See how I always take it back?
Yeah. I like that it starts in space.
Okay, you're not even trying here.
We got to go into it. We got to start talking about the episode.
Oh, but it's a game. I thought you were just being a little smartass saying, I like that it starts in space. Dave's not here, man.
No, I think it's a fun choice.
It's a great choice because it's the fake out. I get it. But the show doesn't really get good for me in episode 1. We only get hints of how good the writing's going to be. But I think that's pretty typical of any show, right? Like the first episode's going to be kind of awkward and clunky. The second episode's where they start to like, once they've done all the exposition, they start to actually get into like, this is what this show's going to be like.
Well, we only get like half of our crew in this episode.
You're right.
I feel like you're supposed to watch episode 1 and 2 together. I feel like they're like very meant to be viewed together. So if you're listening to the podcast, wait for episode 2 of the podcast to come out and listen to them back
listen to them together because that's the only way to do it. Do you think it was after the Super Bowl that day they premiered this and they played both episodes back to back and that's why they feel incomplete on their own?
Did it come out the day of
No,
the
I'm
Super Bowl?
asking, do you think it... Fox used to do this a lot. It's like they'd premiere a new show right after the Super Bowl or some other big stupid sporting event. It's like, new Simpsons right after you've watched.
But do you remember the Third Rock from the Sun that was at the Super Bowl? That was fun. With Cindy Crawford.
No, dude, I don't remember it.
It was good. We open up on Panucci's Pizza, a destination we will revisit many times throughout the Futurama saga.
Yeah, you know what I like about episode 1, though, even though I just, like, dogged on it, is that you get introduced to, like... Okay, so it's like a true sci-fi show because sci-fi shows always plant little seeds in like episode 1 and 2 that then don't get revisited until seasons later. And it's like a test to make sure you're paying attention.
Well, if you've seen all of the Futuramas, I don't know if the listeners are like starting at the beginning with us or what, but there's a lot of stuff that gets paid off later that is actually like seeded in this first episode. They really planned ahead.
Because they're a parody of a sci-fi show, and sci-fi shows are known for doing that. Like, I watched Star Trek Voyager from start to finish recently, and they plant little tiny seeds here and there in season 1 and 2, and then in season 3 and 4, when you've forgotten about them, then they come out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, turns out you created a time paradox 14 episodes ago, and now you're going to have to pay the price.
Is that Janeway?
No, this is Janeway and Chakotay. Join me for some coffee.
It's almost Eartha Kitt. It's very
I know.
Eartha adjacent.
It is almost Eartha Quit. That's a good drag name.
It is.
Eartha Quit.
Girl, you should Eartha Quit drag. That's the thing, though. You're walking right into a lot of reads.
Girl, do you think I should do Eartha Kitt tonight? Girl, more like Eartha Quit.
I like it.
Girl, you should do Eartha Quit. Girl.
The other one was better. So Fry leaves Panucci's pizza. We see Mr. Panucci.
I got a pizza going out. Come on.
And if you're Italian American, we apologize.
Because they're in New York. Because that's how New Yorkers talk. Come on.
He goes outside and he sees his girlfriend right away.
Yes. So it's worth noting that the girlfriend will come back later, but she will be voiced by Sarah Silverman. But she is not voiced by Sarah Silverman in this moment. They probably didn't realize they were going to use her again later. So it is a sci-fi parody show, so of course they're going to plan some things ahead. But they're also a comedy show that probably ran out of ideas here and there, and we're like, what if we bring Fred's girlfriend back? You know, especially when shows go on for a while, it's like you start to feel like they just start playing Mad Libs or pulling things out of a hat, like Zoidberg eats a flag, and everyone's mad about it.
I will say I like the simplicity of this episode. They've got to get their career chip. That's the only MacGuffin of the episode, really, right?
Don't worry. It's just like getting your hand pierced.
We should say this is why we're doing this podcast, is because we will just say out of context Futurama quotes to each other.
That was actually the idea for this podcast. We wanted to see if we could have a whole conversation entirely in Futurama quotes because we believed we could do it. Fry's girlfriends are originally voiced by Tress MacNeille. So here's the thing.
Who's Tress MacNeille? Is she the...
She voices like a countless array of stock characters, both on The Simpsons and on Futurama. And then she recently...
grand midwife?
She's everything. Like she's every female character that just shows up and has an amazing vocal performance.
She's Lady Billy West.
That's the thing I want to talk about, is like it's starring Billy West, and Billy West plays like every other character in this show. But Tress MacNeille plays almost as many characters. They're just small characters. And it's like, you know, there's a lot of politics. We'll have to get into it, but there's a lot of politics in the cartoon voiceover world. Mm-hmm. In the voiceover world in general, but I think especially...
How would you know about the cartoon voiceover world?
I've done a cartoon or two, but I mostly just follow the drama. I mean, I haven't done enough to like be a part of the world of voiceover politics, but I have been
invited into the like boardroom. It's like dimly lit.
Oh, I'm so far on the outside.
John DiMaggio and H. John Benjamin are sitting at the head of the table.
That's why I'm not worried about us getting sued for this podcast, just because like Billy West will hear about this podcast and be like, who the fuck gives a fuck? Get away from me. I'm Billy West. Who are you? How'd you get in here?
Is that how we talk?
I don't know. I'm Billy West.
Hey, it's me, Billy West. No big deal.
Hey, it's me, Billy West. I mean, he's a man of a million voices.
For me. I got a million voices, but this is my main one. Love doing this voice.
People said, you should do character voices. I said, what for?
Ooh, okay. We got to talk about the episode. We're barely into it. We got to talk.
I know.
He hasn't even gotten Frozen.
Work. I've done a lot of podcasts. If
he hasn't gotten Frozen.
Okay. So when he does get frozen, right before he falls in, you see his little feet on the little chair, and you see Nibbler's shadow. Now, if you've never watched Futurama before, just tuck this away in your brain. Nibbler's shadow. And then I won't talk about it. No, we're not going to talk about it.
Oh my gosh.
Because that's called spoilers.
Intrigue.
But if you have watched Futurama before, look at Nibbler's shadow. Look, episode 1. Fry gets frozen in the freezer thing. And I really love watching the planet get destroyed, rebuilt in the Renaissance age, get destroyed again. and then all of a sudden it's the future. Like they had a small hiccup where they reverted back to the the Renaissance.
This is another if you know right away, because they've revisited this quite a few times. But I don't think this is every time the world got destroyed. I think it happened like 10 times. And in this montage, we saw like 4 of them,
Spoilers!
Because there's that guy who says that when he was frozen, he lived in a carrot world. We never saw the carrot people. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's just a general taste of what happened while Fry's been frozen.
So he wakes up, he comes out of the cryo chamber. He doesn't know any time has gone by. He looks out the window and wow, how future-y.
Well, he says, everyone I've ever known or cared about is gone. Woohoo!
Have you ever felt like that in life? I didn't want to get too
loud. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, of course, I'd miss everyone in my life.
What about when you were working at Sandella's? They're out of business. We can say their name. They're out of business.
I don't know if they're out of business
everywhere.
They
got gentrified.
I don't know if they got out of business everywhere.
I think they did. We'll
still be one. There could still be one in like Tallahassee.
In like Queen Anne. Oh, okay. Very far from Seattle.
No, the one I worked at was the first one in Seattle.
Mm.
And I made some friends at Sandella's, okay?
I thought you were going to say, and I made some good sandwiches.
I did. No, they wouldn't let me cook very often.
I don't believe that.
I did prep.
So you could have bareback sex. Can we go to a commercial? I have to pee.
Well, there's not going to be commercials.
Hulu ad.
Bark, 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 bark,
That's good.
Everything's better.
Play that
when
at the
you
club.
Like a chicken.
I'll turn up for that. Do you remember watching it when it premiered in the year 2000?
I don't know.
I remember watching it right when it premiered with my dad, because we watched The Simpsons together every Sunday.
I felt so excited when I realized that Leela is voiced by Katie Sagal, who was also Peg Bundy.
Oh, yeah. Iconic.
But that's like one of the things that is in the world of voiceover politics. If you watch that documentary, what's the documentary? Look who's talking. Hey, I'm talking over here.
It's called I Know That Voice, right? Hey, I know that voice.
I know that voice. Hey,
but it does have like a hey at the
beginning. That voice sounds familiar over here.
I've heard of this guy.
Hey, where have I heard that voice before, eh?
Hey, you want a cartoon or something over there?
And the voiceover artists who do lots of voiceover work, who like voice everything on everything, talk about how they get frustrated with someone getting cast just because they have an iconic voice. But I think it takes I might be biased because pretty much a lot of my castings have been because I have a very iconic speaking voice. But I think I think it takes both types of voice actors, voice actors who have such a strong speaking voice that like you just want to hear them talk, like the actor who plays Roz in Frasier. She does a lot of voiceover acting because her voice comforts us.
I'm not a Frasier guy. It's bad.
It's not bad. It's the most...
Let's talk about this show. This is so not related to the topic. Oh, when he comes out, he says, "Welcome to the world of tomorrow." That's really funny to me.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow.
When I was a kid, I thought that was so funny. I would say that at like middle school, I think. That's something I would say to my friends.
Why do you have to say it like that, Terry?
His name's Terry.
Haven't you ever heard of a little thing called showmanship? Right this way! Futurama, I think it has the best things in common with the early Simpsons, because it's a mix of really good writing and then like visual slapstick humor that you can pull off really well because it's animated.
And lots of little fun background jokes. Like, I feel like how Bob's Burgers will just have a funny pun in the background. I feel
it's a veritable feast for the senses.
It's a smorgasbord for your eyes and ears.
For your eyes and ears. But sometimes for your like taste buds too, because when Fry drinks Slurm, I feel like I can taste it.
What do you think Slurm tastes like?
Oh, just like green honey. But it's like also really cold, and it doesn't go down like honey. It goes down like a soda, but it has the same like feeling on your tongue as a thick, gooey honey. But you can chug it.
If Slurm was real, honey, you would be so addicted to Slurm.
I'd have a Slurm fridge.
You would have a Slurm queen.
I just have a Slurm queen in the basement that produces Slurm all day. I would be the Slurm queen.
Oh, that's a good Halloween costume for you. You already did Mom. You can do the Slurm queen.
Just do a giant, grotesque slug with a tiny little crown on.
So right away, Fry meets Leela. Oh, good old Leela. And we see her from behind, and she looks so sexy. But she turns around. She got one big old eye.
And we should just do the conversation they do. You be Fry and I'll be Leela.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
As long as it's not about my eye. Is it about my eye?
Yeah.
All right, what's your question?
What's with the eye?
I'm a Cyclops, all right? What's with the eye? That was the only question he had. Is it about my eye? Sorta. What does he say?
I can't remember. I can't do that one verbatim. So, I'm sorry.
We did it almost verbatim. The joke is, though, of course, like all he wants to ask is about the eye.
Do you ever think about how gross it would be if it was real? Her eye?
Only when she like touches it and you can see how squishy her giant eye is.
Do you think it's adapted for her to be like chill to touch it? Because she like touches it a lot.
Like it's probably got a callus because it's so much more exposed to the elements. Just from like wind damage.
Wind erosion.
wind erosion. It's built up a callus.
Yeah, Leela's like so beautiful in the show, but whenever people try and recreate it in real life, it's kind of depressing and scary.
The eye is always way bigger than it should be.
You can't do it because there's no way to cover up the eye in a way that makes it look normal. It never works.
Well, no, I think some makeup artists have done it in a way that looks cool.
Well, I haven't seen that episode of Glow Up. Have you seen Glow Up? The lady that says ding dong. It's her catchphrase.
No, I haven't seen it. Ding
She's
dong.
British, and when she likes the makeup, she goes,
ding dong.
Ding dong. And it's like supposed to be a really big deal when she likes it. So like in season 2, when she says ding dong, she says it really serious. She's like, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's a ding dong, and everyone in the room starts crying.
Oh, it's a ding dong. No, it's a ding dong.
She got the ding dong.
I feel really good because I got the ding dong today. It's the same on baking. That whatever that baking show's called these days.
What's it? Did they change the name? Did they go through a rebranding?
Yeah, like 8 times. It's like first it was the baking show, and then it was like the Great Bakey Bake, and then it was like
Don't Bake My Heart. My achy bakey heart.
No, it was Unbake My Heart, actually.
Say you
unbake my heart, unrise this dough.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Leela has a cool jacket. It looks like it's a pantsuit, but we later find out it's a jacket. She's wearing all black, and she never rocks this look again, and it kind of makes me sad.
She rocks it again. No, she doesn't. You're right. Yeah, later she has that torrid lime green affair.
Is it? So help me remember. The cut of the black jacket, is it the same as Leela's green jacket and it's just color swap?
No,
They're
different.
Okay.
Yeah, it's different. At least here you'll be treated with a little bit of dignity. Now strip naked and get on the probulator. The probulator. Of course it's set in the future, so everything has to be kind of futury sounding. The probulator. And then Fry just floats there naked. And I'll say when I watched this for the first time as a teenager, because I ended up having romantic feelings for Fry, you know, why? Every time Fry's naked. Not every character. Not Zap Brannigan.
You would absolutely fuck Zap Brannigan.
No, only when I used to drink. And then I would have fucked him. And then I would have woken up and felt really stupid for it. I've fucked a Zap Brannigan or two in my time already in the real world. So don't tell me. You live, you learn.
So I forgot that Leela, like, when she probulates Fry, she discovers the professor is his only living relative.
Yeah.
And I think that's
which is,
neat,
of course,
that Leela found the professor.
Of course, it's a pretty funny joke early on that Fry's great nephew, you know, like really great nephew, is like 100 years older than Fry. He's my uncle.
Yeah, they get a lot of mileage out of it in the first few seasons, and then by like season 7, everything else is so out of control that they like never even reference it anymore.
Fry's destined to be a delivery boy, which is what he was in his last life. And now he's going to be a delivery boy again in the year 3000. And this greatly upsets Fry, because Fry thought he'd have this whole new life in the future. But it turns out the future is communist Russia, and everyone in the world is given a job that they have to adhere to for the rest of their life. To the extent that they have a career chip implanted in their hands, which my mom always told me was the sign of the apocalypse. Do you think?
Well, sure. Maybe this is right before the biblical apocalypse.
the world does almost end like 1 billion times in Futurama.
Yeah, these are the trials and tribulations. I think Futurama is actually a deeply religious tome.
And they keep pushing off the apocalypse, and it just keeps coming and coming.
Well, they make a joke of it later, but it is very funny in a future episode. But it is very funny that these career chips are so important and then are like never mentioned again.
They get mentioned. Yeah, they get mentioned when they need to get mentioned. They do one joke
about it. No, I think it's literally just one time. I can't remember.
And I feel like they leave their jobs a lot throughout the show.
I know, and they never have to get a career chip when they decide they want to be like
it's never an issue later. I mean, that's cartoon logic right there. We want the cartoon to more or less wrap up at the end of every episode the same, and we don't want to have to like think too hard about why they're doing this or that, unless it's funny. Is it funny? Then I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. 30 Rock's like that. It's like a live action cartoon in a lot of ways, because it's just like, let's do the funniest joke. Let's not worry about if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Which I like.
I mean, I do think there's this thing about shows that started pre-2000 where they thought we were all a bunch of idiots. Like they could just swap out actors. They could just like write a character out of the show in some way and then bring the character back with no explanation how they're suddenly like not dead or something. Seinfeld did that a lot.
I don't think that's accurate.
I just watched it from start to finish, and they think we're a bunch of idiots.
No one who dies and comes back.
King of the Hill definitely did it.
There's no one in Seinfeld who dies and come back. You're making things
I might
up.
be hyperbolic here, but something similar to that. It's like, or like Jerry has a sister at one point, and then he's an only child later, just for fun.
Okay,
like,
I buy that. That I will accept. that could be true.
So I don't think they do that too much in Futurama because they normally make a joke about how it doesn't make sense. Futurama is a very breaking the fourth wall kind of show.
It's a fun show.
It's a fun it doesn't take itself too seriously.
So Leela gets like knocked into
It's a flirty little horny bachelorette.
So Leela gets like knocked into the freezy.
The fryulator.
She gets all frozen.
Later. Because she's gonna be frozen.
She gets frozen, and it's supposed to be for 1,000 years, but Fry's like, no, I'm gonna be nice, and he changes it to like a day, right?
5 minutes. But
that's
whatever.
a save the cat moment right there. You know about save the cat?
Do I care about saving the cat? Yes, I do. I have 3 cats. Tell me everything about it.
Save the cat, it's like a writer's theory where it's like if you want people to like your main character, you have them do something nice early on.
Save the cat. It all makes so much sense now.
I do it literally. Every script I write, there's like a cat in peril, and my main character solves it. Using a series of like elaborate tools, or like sometimes he uses his mind powers. It depends on what genre I'm working in.
It's a yogurt commercial. They've got to save the cat, and then they're rewarded. They're rewarded with a creamy Greek yogurt handed to them by John Stamos.
I don't like yogurt. I think it's gross.
Get it? John Stamos was the spokesperson for Oikos Greek yogurt because he's Greek. Get it?
I don't like Greek yogurt. I don't like regular yogurt.
I don't like this kind of yogurt. I don't like that kind of yogurt. I don't like yellow yogurt. I don't like peach yogurt. I don't like up yogurt. I don't like down yogurt. Okay, I'm not a yogurt guy. Move on.
Fry goes outside and he meets Bender in line for the suicide booth. Which is so dark.
It's dark.
There's a lot of really dark stuf, so just everybody be prepared.
Do you think they'd go that dark today? Do you think they'd find a different way to go dark, but maybe not like make light of a suicide booth on the street corner? I mean, like, the thing about this show is, of course, it's a commentary on our own society.
Whoa. What?
What? Shut up.
It is?
Yeah,
it changes everything.
Are you being an idiot? What's going on here?
It's a commentary on society, man.
Why do you feel the need to belittle me?
Because you're more successful than me. You don't know what it's like, man. Oh, Bender! Mm-hmm. I do think it's really funny that Bender tries to save his quarter, even though he's trying to.
Yeah, Bender's paying for a quick suicide, but keeps the quarter. Bender scams the suicide machine. It also makes you think that maybe Bender's laissez-faire attitude about this suicide booth makes you think that Bender's been like popping in suicide booths for fun to see like.
Yeah, it's funny because like how often has it failed? It seems very casual that he's going into it, but he's also not that bothered that it doesn't work.
And he's a robot, and it feels like they do a very human suicide in the booth. It's just like stabbing you with a knife.
Also, it's later established in a different episode that if Bender dies, his brain is uploaded into an identical body, much like the Cylons on Battlestar Galactica. So it doesn't really make sense that he would even be able to kill himself.
Yeah, so...
Worst show ever.
Please select your mode of death. Quick and painless, or slow and horrible.
Yeah, I'd like to place a collect call.
You've selected slow and horrible.
Good choice. So, suicide booth doesn't work. They go to a bar. This is a good intro for Bender. I will say, Bender is one of my favorite characters in the first few seasons, and I think he kind of gets less funny as the show goes on. But then characters like Amy and Hermes kind of like rise to the occasion.
Well, this happens in lots of shows. Like, the like supporting characters become more caricatures of themselves while the lead characters have to become more relatable over time,
Yeah.
Even though in this, the lead character is Fry and he's still quite the character. Leela's kind of our like home base. She's kind of like our grounded character.
And they're kind of the only two characters who actually have any kind of arc over the 10 seasons.
I don't know. Amy goes through a lot.
Okay, fair. I buy that. She stands up to her parents and such.
She goes through a lot.
Back at Leela's office, we got to talk about her boss's voice. This is a Billy West voice.
Yeah. So
Ugh.
Here's the thing.
It's going to come
Billy
up a lot
West,
in this show, unfortunately.
Yeah, Billy West's voice is... Billy West voices like every other character. And Billy West does a lot of really amazing character work, so much so that it's sometimes really, really hard to tell when it is Billy West voicing a character. But once you get used to Billy West's voice, you start to hear his voice everywhere, and you start to hear through the character voices, and you can hear the Billyisms in there. And so it wasn't until like recent viewings that I realized that Billy West voices Leela's Indian boss and does a very stereotypical... it's the same thing as Apu, but I don't think anyone makes a big deal about Billy West because I think it's less known that it's Billy West doing it. Like, no one even asks, like, oh, who's voicing that character? It's a well-known fact that Hank Azaria, who is not Indian, voices Apu. But it's really hard unless you're unless you've trained your ear to spot Billy West's voice everywhere. It's hard to tell when he's doing these racially insensitive voiceover performances.
Yeah. So that'll come up from time to time. Amy's dad is also a similar situation because that's Billy West as well, right?
Yeah.
So it is part of cartoons at the time, unfortunately, and it's only kind of just now changing.
It's so weird because we, at that time in TV and media, we wouldn't accept a white person playing a person of color on TV if you see the person. But for some reason in voiceover work, it was like still considered totally cool for white people to do that with their voices.
What year was Social Network? They had like a white guy play Indian in that.
Oh, I don't know.
And I really like that movie.
There's a lot of movies
It's
I've never seen. There's a lot of movies I've never seen, and of course it still happens, but it just sucks. It sucks that it took everyone so long to realize how not cool or funny that is.
Yep. Whew. Okay, so they're at the bar. This is the first time we get a robosexual joke. This comes back later because he says, I don't want anyone thinking we're robosexuals, so if anyone asks, say you're my debugger, which is funny.
Which still sounds like a sex act.
It does, actually. I didn't even think of that.
Especially when you think about British slang and bugger means to do it.
Oh, and then outside, Leela says, this is like agent or officer, whatever, 1BDI. And I never got that before, that it's 1BDI.
Leela. This is officer 1BDI. They don't dwell on Leela's one eye too much through the show, but it comes up when it's necessary.
Occasionally, yeah. And then there's a couple episodes that center on it. I will say this show really hates cops, which is cool.
Yeah, right from the get-go, the first time you meet cops, they're not only assholes, but they're incompetent.
Yes. I do love funny robot cop. I like him.
I like the robot cop. The human cop's quite well. It's so funny that he's kind of like a yokel. He's like the Cletus of this universe. But I love the bit of they pull out the lightsabers, but they're just hollow batons that don't seem to even hurt that much.
No, everyone seems fine. Okay.
And it just sounds like hitting someone with
like a fun noodle, maybe
paper towel tubes.
Yeah, but one of the kind of thick ones,
doof, doof.
It hurts a little.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's definitely annoying. It's uncomfortable.
Oh, like a wrapping paper one. The long ones. That's what
Did you ever
like.
make swords out of those?
Hell the fuck yeah. That was the best part of Christmas.
We did too, but we were really like lazy, so we wouldn't really do anything to make them swords. We'd just pick them up and they were swords.
Yeah, I didn't have any brothers or sisters, so I just
You spent a lot of time. You spent a lot of time making it, and you put a lot of effort into it, and it still didn't fill the void of not having a companion.
Yeah.
Boo hoo hoo hoo.
They go to the head museum, and this is the first time we see Nixon. He's in the head museum, and I have a question: is he not president yet?
No, of course he's not. That's a whole episode. I think is either season
he wasn't running for
re-election.
2. He was running for. Well, it is re-election.
A new. He finds a Nixon-style loophole to run for president. That's later, but I do like that we establish right away that Nixon's the villain.
Yes,
and holds a grudge, and I think the voice acting on Nixon is just perfect. I actually, when I was in Bye Bye Birdie in middle school, when I was playing Mr. McAfee, I did a Nixon impression as my like character voice, but I had never heard Nixon talk. I just was doing an impression of this impression of Nixon.
Oh, have you stolen voices from this show before? Like maybe on national television?
This show? No. What voice did I steal on national television? Oh my gosh, that's a stock character. That's Foghorn Leghorn.
You literally are a country lawyer.
I'm just a simple country happy chicken.
Voice. And you're playing a
it's
lawyer.
Colonel Sanders. It's Foghorn Leghorn. I mean, they're making a big Foghorn Leghorn joke by having it be a simple country hyper chicken.
But you are playing a lawyer.
Yeah. There's lots of other lawyers that are Southern gentlemen.
Oh, like that Freedom Waterfall guy. I never got that the gag is that all the Freedom Waterfall people die. They all die at the end of the episode. Because I remember the lady died in the movie.
Poor Waterfall family.
And I thought it was sad. But then I was like, oh, right, the dad and the son are already dead.
We're going to have to wait to talk about Freedom Waterfall till we meet him. But He does have an amazing dialogue written for it. The writing in this show is so good. I mean, like, that's my favorite thing about it. Like, here's some quotes I wrote down that are amazing. Bender saying, I could bend a girder to any decimal. 30 degrees, 32 degrees, you name it. 31. They're just so good at writing.
I like when the cop says, get your big nose out of my business, One Eye. And Leela says, nobody makes fun of my nose. Excellent. Really good stuff.
Fry gives Bender the inspiration to bend against his programming.
Oh, yeah. You know what? This part's really wild because he gives this whole speech to Bender where he's like, you should go against your programming. And Bender says no. And then he turns around and he gets electrocuted by the light bulb. And then he turns around and he says yes. So, like, if Bender hadn't got electrocuted, like, they never would have been friends.
Yeah, Bender would have never been able to, like, make the decision for himself to join Fry and bend for himself.
Is that literally the only thing? It doesn't give him free will, though.
It just scrambles his programming.
Just makes him change his mind in that moment.
It just makes him scramble his programming, which probably is why he's able to do half the things he does. Because other robots seem to only do what they've been programmed to do. Bender's a very unique robot.
Do you think there are, like, forces at play in the Futurama universe? Because, like, whenever something weird happens in Star Wars, where it's like, how did this brother, like, run into his sister that he's never met in the whole galaxy? They just bump into each other. And it's like, the Force did it. Is there something doing it here?
Yeah, and we learn about it later.
Well, I know what you're going to say, and I don't think he did that.
Yeah, I don't think he did that.
I don't think he did that.
But they have like looked so far into the future that like lots of these integral things may have been like predicted or set into motion with one thing or another. I mean, the whole act of freezing Fry could have set a lot of things into motion that needed to happen. This is just like Star Trek. Janeway has this episode where she goes back in time like a billion times. Oh, not even Janeway. It's someone else.
In Animorphs, it's the Elemist. You remember the Elemist?
No.
You read the Animorphs. Don't even pretend.
I read the first, like, few books. And then when Toby became a Hawk forever, I checked out.
That's the first book. Toby.
It must not have.
Are you on a first-name basis with Tobias? You got nicknames for him?
His name's Tobias.
Yes. All right. So they go into the underground somehow. Are they like running away? I don't remember how they got there. Oh, they go in the hole. They go in the grate.
Oh yeah, Bender says, looks like somebody's gonna have to do some bending. and Fry just lifts up the grate, and then Bender goes, "Oh, he was so excited to bend."
I know, he's so excited to be free. And then he gets his bend on. He bends it on the way down. Have you ever been to the Underground Seattle tour? That's what this like Underground New York made me feel like, but it was way bigger.
I think I went when I was in 8th grade and I barely remember it.
So if you are like on a school trip in Seattle when you're a kid, they take you to this underground tour. It starts in Pioneer Square. And you walk like under one block underneath. It's so hard to explain. Like where underneath the sidewalk, there's a tunnel.
They just like had to build Seattle on top of itself at some point, but just a section of the city.
They just built it 10 feet higher because they were like, oops, too much water.
Oopsie-daisy. We forgot
but
all
like
about
some of the tunnels are still active and you can go down in there and there's like
it's
rats
like
and
they built Seattle in the morning and then by the evening they were like, oh, darn it. We're going to have to start
down there, there's
over,
a pirate ship and there's a guy named Chunk. What's his name? No, what's the guy from the Goonies?
Yeah, Chunk is the little boy.
The kid, the little chubby boy.
What's the
Kronk?
Oh my god.
It's something like that.
Craig.
Yeah, it's something casual like that. It's like Josh.
Russell.
Mm-hmm. So wait, yeah, they're all down in the underground area is the point, and like they meet. Leela catches up with them, and this is kind of how all of our main trio comes together in this moment.
So they all take. Leela takes out her career chip, and points out that now that Bender has gone against his programming, and Fry's not getting a career chip, and she's took hers out, that they're like 3 job deserters with no money and no place to go, and that's when Fry remembers that he's got a super relative. Old nephew.
And he's rich. Well, they don't know that yet.
They just assume because he's old, he's rich. Because old people like to hoard their money.
Or maybe there's just really solid social security for all the darkness of this future dystopia.
This dystopian.
They have a wonderful social safety net. It's
like a very lazy dictatorship because the mantra is you gotta do what you gotta do. You know, I'm a simple guy. I got simple needs.
Also, maybe they're just brainwashed because it's not like they took out the chips and they were like instantly pursued or anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of if sci-fi television can tell us anything, there's a lot of brainwashing and propaganda in the future. And it's just like nobody seems to mind. Because they're distracted by television.
Speaking of television, Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve. Did you ever watch Dick Clark when you were a kid?
No, I never did. But I'd rather talk about the fact that he introduces himself as Dick Clark's head.
Which is funny.
It's one thing I've never understood. I get it for the joke on Futurama, but it's like, isn't it still Dick Clark, or is Dick Clark's head a whole different thing? I guess You know, they'd have to like do some kind of like cloning. It's a new like being, because his head would not have been that preserved over time. They had to do something to revitalize.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But then the same for like they have like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, so they must have like
exactly
dug up some people
who were long time skeletons before the year 3000.
Oh, so are you saying like maybe something very dark happened in Dick Clark's death that like only his head was left, but they could bring that back and it just happened?
No,
to be
that's not what I'm
form?
saying at all.
That's all
I'm
I
saying
got
they
out of what
dig
you
up.
said.
I'm saying they probably dig up the skulls and then use some kind of like time machine plastic surgery that's like brings just the head back to life, like
Lilu. Do you think it's like the
yes,
Lilu machine?
exactly like Lilu
in Fifth Element?
I know they explain this slightly in the in a future episode, but not enough to my liking.
Very well,
but
we'll revisit that later.
Would you live on as a head in a jar?
I know you would, and my answer is no. And I know your answer is yes.
Just because you don't want to be around me?
No, I don't want to be around anyone.
Why did I go straight there?
I want to be around anyone if I'm a head in a jar.
I'd like to be a head in a jar, but I'd have to like have some kind of, you know, like
if they put you in the room with like Betty Davis and Joan Crawford and Joan Rivers, like just all those ladies, you would have a blast.
Just every Joan.
Yeah. I guess if
Joan
do I get to pick where I get put?
Joan Rivers would be like, oh, Jinkx, what are you going to do today? And Joan Crawford would be like, why, the same thing Jinkx does every day.
Try to take over the world.
Sit around in a head jar museum. And then Joan Cusack would be like, I'm also here, and I'm Joan Cusack, and I don't get recognized enough, even though I've done amazing work throughout my time.
Have you ever seen Toys?
No, I haven't.
It's very bad. I didn't finish it.
But I do like that Tori Amos song
I hate that song. You're so stupid. That's the worst part of a very bad movie.
That's a great song. I love my job. We love our jobs.
Why do you know that?
We all love our jobs.
Why do you know that song if you haven't seen the movie?
Because sometimes I listen to soundtracks of movies that I think might have good music.
That's weird.
Okay, well, like the Scary Story movie was terrible, but the Lana Del Rey cover of Season of the Witch is pretty all right.
I don't like anything that you just said. Moving on. The machine. They go to the professor's house and
no.
I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to hear an impression of her. I don't care for her. She's not my friend.
Must be the season.
I'm not friends with her. I don't know her. Mariah Carey. Okay.
Must be the
I hate this. I hate you. Don't do Lana Del Rey ASMR. That's disgusting.
Must be
oh my god. I'm editing this. I'm taking this out.
I bet you $5 you don't take it out.
Oh, wait, so I get $5 if I keep it in?
Yeah, I'll Venmo you, but you're going to keep it in.
So wait.
You'll keep it in.
I want to keep it in because I get the money?
You'll just keep it in because you know I'm right.
Are you going to pay me $5 though if I do it? I'm just not clear on the bet.
No, I bet you $5 No, you pay me $5 if you keep it in.
What? Then I'm definitely not keeping it in. You have to pay me $5.
No, in the end, you're going to just have to keep it in.
We're cutting a lot, so that might go.
No, you'll realize I was right by the time you're editing this.
I hate this so much. So they have the machine in the professor's laboratory or whatever, where it's literally just they put their fingers in it and a bell dings and it tells them that they're related. And
it seems like it's been doing it for quite some time. Like
yeah, you didn't have to boot it up or take it out.
They're like in recliners. They've been sitting there for a while, which I love about the professor's inventions is that they can like the professor seems to be able to invent anything that can do anything, but it's going to do it in the most stupid way.
Yeah. Like when he moves the universe to make the ship go fast, for example.
just like I
like the assorted lengths of wire joke. That's fun. We get to see the spaceship for the first time, and I think the Futurama spaceship is very iconic. I think it's one of the best parts of the show.
If I drove, I'd want to drive a car that looked like that.
but you can't because of your little sleepies. You're not allowed.
My little sleepies.
Yeah, your little thing where you go like so sleepy.
What if I called your disorders cute little pet names?
Which ones?
Your little textbook narcissises.
I like when they do the countdown for the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Leonard Nimoy comes back from the head museum and he says 4.
4. And
I just think it's so funny that he recorded all of his lines and then they were like, okay, Leonard, now can you just say 4? And he's like, what's my motivation?
Do you think they had him do the full countdown so that they could choose later which number they wanted him to be?
That's what I would do.
Do you think somewhere there's a file of Leonard Nimoy counting backwards from 10?
That would be so fun because then you could make him say your phone number and put it in your voicemail message. Thank you for calling.
This is $1 million app idea.
They escape in the fireworks. How fun. How Futurama.
I can't see nothing. Pretty though.
They're in space. Escape. Oh, and then the wasp's stomach contents.
Yeah,
this is a great gag that they set up, that the professor has no regard for the life of his employees. And it's like kind of remarkable that Fry and Leela never die.
The professor sets up that he needs a new space crew for his intergalactic delivery service. He's like an indie FedEx for the stars. And then he points out that he has his old crew's career chips and pours them out of an envelope that says contents of Space Wasp's stomach.
And they pay that off eventually as well, right? But like way longer.
Yes.
Because there's the Space Bees, but there's also an episode where they meet the crew with the Space Wasps, I believe.
No, that's in the belly of a whale, but whatever.
I know what you're talking about, but I believe that they reference the wasps. It comes back.
And there could have been multiple crews.
I think it is referencing that one specifically, and I would like you not to undercut my point.
All right.
Any other great moments that you want to touch on before we wrap up this first episode of I'm 40% podcast?
Just that, like the show Futurama itself, this podcast will get really, really good throughout time.
Well, thank you so much. Join us next week and buy that Hulu ad that we put in there. Buy the Hulu. Use our offer code Jinkx, but you have to spell it wrong. You have to spell it with a Y. JYNKX.
There's no Hulu ad.
That's words. The password. Just go to hulu.com/subscribe. Enter the code.
We're not that
Jinkx,
big yet.
Spelled wrong.
We're not Alaska
2 weeks
and
free.
Willem. We're not Bob and Monet.
You get 2 weeks free. You can watch all of High Fidelity, which is a show.
We're just a middle-aged woman and her deadbeat stoner.
You can watch
friend.
Futurama on Hulu.
Yeah, but Hulu doesn't even know we exist.
JYNX.
Stop it. Do you know how many people... My name is misspelled every day by someone.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Your name's Nick.
And well, the first part's pretty easy.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this episode 1 of our podcast as much as we enjoyed making it. Tell your friends to subscribe to the Jinkx Monsoon Patreon. Hopefully this hasn't made you want to unsubscribe to the Jinkx Monsoon Patreon. Nothing ensures the success of a project like ending an episode talking about how bad you thought it was. I'm Jinkx Monsoon.
Do something good on the way out. Do
cool.
Something that people like.
Just don't use that last one.
No, do a thing. And then I'll edit it. I'll end it right when you do the good thing. Be entertaining.
I'm Jinkx. Oh my God. If you interrupt, I can't do anything.
I'm producing. I have a hard job. You just get to come be on the show. I'm the producer and I have to come here and perform. And I have to use my notes. My notes. Look at all these notes.
Most people do.
How many notes did you take? I'm a producer.
That's just what most people do.
Okay, so go ahead and let's Let's go. Let's do a clean one. So
I'm
I want you to kind of have a little more energy, but like, don't be annoying. You know, like when you get really like high energy, it's like very grating. Just don't do that. And do 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and that's Nick Sahoyah, and this has been I'm 40% Podcast. We hope you enjoy subscribing to this Jinkx Monsoon Patreon page, and we promise to bring you many, many wonderful episodes as we cook them up in our meth lab. And until the next...
No, it was going so well. We have to go from 1.
I can't say meth lab.
Okay, yeah, that's the end. That's the end.
Wow.